Hey, I am Dr. Malea Jensen, and this is a live stream where I answer your questions if you have them. I talk about health topics, and we go from there. So this is Welcome to Dr. J's Prescription for Health. We are live on YouTube and Instagram, and I see everybody, we're starting to have some people kind of join in here. Where are you guys listening from? What city, what state, what country? Good morning, Diane and Scott. Thank you for joining. All right, looks like our Instagrammers are getting on board here. We're gonna wait just a bit for, hi Melanie, we're gonna wait a bit for the YouTubers. I thought today, if I don't have any questions just starting out, I wanted to just review a little bit about from yesterday regarding memory, regarding dementias, especially Alzheimer's, and what we need to check for. So I thought just a little bit of a review would help us get going. All right, we're kind of waiting on, looks like you Instagrammers get signed up or get caught up a lot faster. Good morning, Christopher. Thank you for joining. All right, so it's like a slow trickle. So let me know where you're listening from so I can see that. Hit the thumbs up and the subscribe and do all that clickety-clack stuff. Good morning, Lucy. Lucy is my Blue Shield, the former Blue Wrencher. So she is a moderator over there on YouTube for me, and I appreciate that. So as a review, we talked a lot about why a big complaint for people coming into their doctor is memory stuff going on. They feel like they're losing their mind. Their short-term memory is going. They think it's just from aging. And so we discuss things that could improve our cognition. One, we talked about just reading books. That is a big one. Reading books helps improve our cognition. Remember that cognition is declining after the age of your mid-30s. That's when you're starting to get a decline. And it's slow, slow, slow. And then you might start noticing symptoms in your 70s and 80s. So for those of you who are listening or in your 30s, this is the prime time to stop this cognitive decline in its tracks. Now, does that mean that if you're in your 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, that you can't reverse it, slow it down? And I'm not saying that. I think you can. But hey, prevention is better than having to play catch up when you're already 70 years old. So reading a book, writing. I take notes every single day. I write stuff down, I highlight. I even take notes on paper towels when I'm at the gym. Writing, especially in cursive, helps our mind improve. It helps our brain function, helps with cognitive decline. Sounds like it's just something very minimal, but I'll tell you what, it helps. Also, we talked a lot yesterday about exercise. And, Mohammed, if you don't want to be here, you don't need to be. So I'm relaxed. Are you relaxed for you to comment like that? So again, if you have a question, put a Q in front of it, but I don't think commenting on how you are seeing me, that's inappropriate. So, and I have moderators, and if you want to continue on that road, we can let you know. And, if you want to continue, then you don't need to be here. So, all right. Oh, we got another Lucy on board. Good. Taking notes is important. Yep. So exercise is so important. And yesterday we talked about the most important exercise to do would be working your legs. Okay. Working leg power is very important. And there's reasons why lifting weights over simply just doing cardio is important. Okay. You want to be able to build new cells in the hippocampus, our memory center. And with structured exercise, this helps, okay? And that's what our goal is. And some of you, you replied back yesterday or maybe in the evenings, oh, I do walks or I do yoga or I do this and that. I get it. And I'm glad you're active. But if you want to compound your exercise, your aerobic training, you want to add in weightlifting, okay? And you want to make sure that you're lifting to failure, okay? And that's very important. 80% of your 1 rep max. And that might look like, lifting 3-4 days a week for 45 to 60 minutes a day, hitting your 80% of your 1 rep max. The heavier you lift, the greater the neural drive. I always say the mind-muscle connection. So the heavier you lift, I'm not saying just, oh, let's just go in and do light weights and just get my reps in, we'll have fun. I'm sorry to say that's not doing enough, okay? It's just not enough. Our neural drive, that mind to muscle, the mind-muscle connection. There was a study, and I cannot remember the study right now, but it was on sedentary life and increasing our risk of cognitive decline. You could simply, to break that, to break the sedentary nature of you, you don't want to go to a gym, you could simply just stand up every hour and do 10 air squats, okay? Most influencers online right now are talking about exercising in zone 2. And I would say that's great. Zone 2 is awesome. But what I'm referring to in order to improve your cognitive function would be exercising in 3, 4, 5, especially in zone 5. And even for myself, I need to remind myself of that. And today I did exactly that. And I thought about myself doing it, and I go, oh my gosh, you feel so much better, don't you? I was talking to myself, and I say, yeah, and I'm in zone 4 right now, meaning I'm working hard. My breath is working hard. My heart rate is up. And I tend to like to superset. Zone 5 is probably the highest level that you can do, and you are lifting at a high pace. It's more, I would say zone 5 is along the lines of high intensity interval training. There's something called Norwegian 4x4. A Norwegian 4x4, I would consider a zone 5 type exercise. And what that means is you are going to do an exercise, say deadlifts, okay, which I think is probably one of the best, deadlifts or squats, something that's working our posterior chain and working our very large muscles, okay? So our posterior chain is our glute, or our low back, our glutes, hamstrings, calves. So something that's going to work our posterior chain, something like deadlifts or squats. And you're going to do, in zone 5, you're going to do 4 minutes of lifting as heavy as you can for reps, and then you're going to rest 4 minutes. So you're going to do reps, or you're going to exercise. And I know this is starting out, maybe I should just be a little bit more simple. Let's say you're at the gym and you're just going to do the rowing machine, or you're going to do the elliptical machine, and you're thinking about HIIT, high intensity interval training. You're going to race hard for 4 minutes and then relax for 4 minutes, then race hard for 4 minutes, then relax for 4 minutes. And a lot of influencers will call this Tabata, okay? So if you're going to strain yourself for 4 minutes, and then you're going to relax for 4 minutes, you want to basically do 4 cycles of those, okay? And a lot of you, when you're starting to build yourself up and you want to improve, now you're going to start doing it with an exercise, like light deadlifts. So today, I escalated up on the weight. So I did reps, and I might not have gone exactly 4 minutes, but you guys are getting it took me probably 2 minutes to get to, I was at failure. Then I rested 2 minutes, did 4 cycles of deadlifts. And no, I didn't go extremely heavy because I want to build up. So the other day I went back to doing some really deep squats, and I didn't do Norwegian 4x4 on my deep squats, but the day after and the next day I could hardly walk. My quads were so sore. And I don't remember that I haven't remembered that feeling for a long time. I wasn't damaging anything. That's not damaging. That's just saying, hey, I think you probably have not been working your quads for a while. And yeah, let's see. Rob says, what are your thoughts on ginger turmeric shots in a glass bottle, selling them in the UK in glass bottles, good or bad? I don't know much about, one, it's in glass, so that's awesome. In a shot, that means I don't know what the concentration is. A lot of times ginger can upset people's stomach. That it is what it is. A lot of times turmeric can increase stomach upset. My thoughts whenever it comes to supplements is, why are we taking it? Are we just taking it just to take it, or are we taking it for something? For instance, are you taking it because you have inflammation? You've read that ginger is good for inflammation. You've read that turmeric is good for inflammation. But my question would be to Rob, do you have inflammation? Yes or no? And if yes, why? Why do you have inflammation? There's many reasons. One could be your diet, okay? If you don't have inflammation, why would you put in, I'm just asking questions here. What would be the reason to put these things into your body? I do not personally like to put, especially root plants, in my body. Our soil today is completely toxic with heavy metals, completely toxic with glyphosate. And I personally don't want to put those things in my body. Now, I don't know where that particular shot is made. If it's made in the UK, maybe the UK soil is much better than America. But I'm going to stay away from any root plants. They grow under the ground and they're going to soak up all of the stuff. Say versus a coffee plant that grows out and then the beans are at the seed or at the end, and they have less of that chance. I mean, they still have heavy metal toxicity and, oxalates and phytates and all of that, but less than a root plant. Even a carrot has more. But potatoes, yams, those things, they grow under the ground. I just try to avoid them because of our soils. They're just horrible. Yeah, please share and subscribe. I appreciate that reminder, Lucy. Hit the thumbs up, share, subscribe if you haven't already. I appreciate you guys being here. Make sure I didn't miss any questions over here on Instagram. I'm live on Instagram and YouTube. So if you hear me saying a name and you go, there's nobody listening here on Instagram by that name, that's because I'm reading it off of YouTube, okay? So question here is, why carnivore raises blood sugar and LDL in some and not others? Great question. Let's break it down. Why would a carnivore diet raise blood sugar? It usually occurs early on. Now, early on could be for your first year, okay? It is not the diet. I need you guys to be aware that it is not the actual carnivore diet that is causing your problem, if it is a problem at all, okay? If your blood sugars are elevated and you're not eating sugar, you're just eating red meat or eggs or butter, bacon, fish, that's all you're consuming, it is likely not the sugar that's coming in. It's your inability to clear the sugar. You are still insulin resistant, okay? And you are trying to burn sugar and you're unable to. Recall that muscle is a sugar sponge, a glucose sponge. It will soak up everything, okay? Most everything, unless you're piling on the sugar. It can only hold so much. So if you are a person that has low muscle mass, you're gonna have a harder time clearing glucose. Some people, we follow influencers, and I don't want to tell you not to follow an influencer, because even some things I say It could be completely off, or it's taken out of context. We didn't really get a chance to explain. And that happens to me all the time because I will listen to my stuff and I go, oh, you did not explain everything. And it's hard because we miss things. But if you are having high blood sugars and somebody tells you you need to increase the fat, it is quite possible that you can't process the fat either. So that can increase your LDL. Why? Okay, I'm glad you asked. I talked about it yesterday, but I didn't talk about it the way I probably should. When we take in a lot more saturated fat, you're going from a standard American diet, and now you're going to go to a ketogenic diet, which could be keto, ketovore, carnivore, lion. It's naturally higher in fat because you're eating meat. Meat has a protein source and the meat has a fat source. Now there's leaner sources like bison and buffalo and sheep. Well, maybe not sheep, but deer, they might be leaner. The muscle's leaner, not their body fat, but their muscle's going to be leaner. Like it's not going to be Wagyu beef. That's fatty meat. A deer is very lean. But you can, if you're eating or consuming a lot of fat, or your influencer or your doctor or your new carnivore person is telling you, oh, just increase fat. And then what happens is triglycerides go up, LDL goes up, because LDL is going to go up because it needs to carry all of the fat that you're consuming, okay? So LDL is naturally going to go up. Now, if you have sugar still on board and you have fat still on board, your LDLs that are on board are now becoming small and dense. They're getting oxidized. We talked about small, dense LDLs being not so good. They are sticky, they're damaged, and they are involved in plaque formation in our coronary arteries. So you could be a person who says, oh my gosh, I feel amazing. I went carnivore 4 months ago, 5 months ago, and then I decided to check my labs. I feel amazing. I'm sleeping better. My energy's great. Yet you go get your labs and your triglycerides might be high. Your LDL is high. Your blood sugar is sitting around 100, and you say, how can that be? Because you're not clearing it. You are not yet metabolically flexible. You're trying to burn sugar because it's there. You can't burn the sugar because you don't have any muscle to take it in. So some is still in the bloodstream. Some can't get into the cells, the other cells. So you increase fat. Now fatty acids you're getting swarmed with fatty acids. You aren't really burning them because glucose is high. You can't burn fatty acids because glucose is high. Remember, when glucose is high, insulin is high. When insulin is high, you don't break down fat. You're not oxidizing fat. It sounds confusing, but I'm trying to give you reasons. It's not the diet. It's your body not being able to work with everything. And so that is why some providers, influencers, content creators will tell you, go slow. Now, maybe for me, I was pretty metabolically flexible because I've been low carb for many, many years, okay? And when I'm low carb for many, many years, it was easier for me to just go cold turkey. But when you go cold turkey and you eat what I'm eating, for, say a 1-to-1 ratio, you get 125 grams of protein and 125 grams of fat. You have to know that your body needs to break that fat down. And if your gallbladder isn't working or your liver isn't working very well, just picture you got a fatty liver going on. You've been eating crapola processed diet, high in seed oils and high in sugar, and your liver is being choked off. So you say, I'm just going to get rid of it. Great. However, you went cold turkey. And now your liver has less of an ability, or it's just not used to it, making bile salts, making bile. Your liver makes bile and it's stored in the gallbladder. So if your liver is sluggish, it's going to build up Okay? There's no bile to take care of the fat. Remember, when you eat fat, it needs to be emulsified. Emulsification means like breaking down fat. And then you repackage it into a chylomicron, and then a chylomicron gets delivered via the lymphatics or the thoracic duct into the lymphatics. But we aren't going there yet. We are just talking about when you ingest fat, you have to emulsify that fat. And emulsifying that fat is breaking it down, but you can only break it down with bile, the bile salts. And you can only have bile salts if you have a healthy liver. So if your liver's been underactive, now you're going to get all the buildup of these fatty acids, and that looks like high triglycerides. Makes sense? So your body's going to try to burn the sugar as well. The sugar's building up. There's no muscle to take it up, so there's that sponge. And then your glycogen stores are completely full in the liver. Now you got excess sugar, and you call yourself insulin resistant on carnivore. Not so. It's not so. You're not insulin resistant by definition. Okay? I know it sounds confusing. And Retail My Ride is saying, hey, that's me. So what do we do with all this information? All this complicated information? One, if you're thinking about going from your crapola diet to a ketogenic diet, maybe you need to go slow, okay? If you find that you feel great, but yet your numbers on your labs are going, whoa, hey, take a step back. I'm eating carnivore, but yet my triglycerides are high and my blood sugar's high. What am I doing wrong? Your liver is still in a state of healing, okay? It needs to be working. Now, there are some influencers that I follow too, okay? I don't even, should I call them an influencer? I don't even know what to call them. There's people on social media that will say, take supplements, take berberine, take bergamot, take whatever it might be, okay? And that will help you in that initial part start getting that liver to work, produce bile, do its thing, okay? Get the liver from being sluggish to being active and working appropriately. That person, if they don't want to take supplements, might need to decrease the amount of fat in their body, the amount of fat coming into their body. So instead of the influencer saying, oh, I've seen this before, increase your fat, I would say maybe for you, that is not the case, because you're just going to continue to build more fatty acids and they're going to build up and your liver is getting overwhelmed. So initially you might need to back down on the fat, the saturated fat. Let's just be honest, it's saturated fat. So the saturated fat didn't cause your insulin resistance. The inability to get rid of the saturated fat, the fatty acids, or get rid of the blood sugar is your problem. It's a clearance problem, you guys. It's a clearance problem. So one, we need to make sure all of our other labs are okay. Is your thyroid working okay? Right? Then we got to fix the thyroid. We can't fix the liver, and the thyroid's still bad because your cholesterol is going to be elevated, or your LDL is going to be elevated with a bad thyroid. So everything in our body is working all together, and we can't just pick and choose the systems we're going to work on. We need to work on the whole body. Okay? This is why it's important to get baseline labs when you're going to switch your diets up. As a reminder, you guys, I'm into this right now. I don't know how long I'm already into this, 25 minutes, but this, you guys, is not medical advice. I'm not giving you medical advice. I'm not telling you what to do. Yes, I'm a doctor. Yes, you are a patient of somebody, but you're not my patient, and I am not your doctor. It's for information purposes only. And I'm on a journey with you guys, learning this stuff. it's important that you are listening and reviewing and reading and doing your other, doing your own education on the side. I don't know it all. And these are things I'm studying and I'm passing on to you. And I'm trying to give you every caveat, like what could be happening, because a truly carnivore person might say, don't worry about it. It's not a problem. And I'm telling you, it could be a problem. And we may not know the exact mechanism, but is there somebody who goes carnivore and they can have a heart attack? Absolutely. Okay. Getting a baseline of labs, getting a baseline of a CAC score is important, a calcium scoring test. Find out how much calcification you already got going on. That was not from the carnivore diet. That was from your past crapola diet. That tells me that you're very inflamed. As a side note, for my women who are getting mammograms, and you note on the description or the objective findings by the radiologist that you have calcification in the arteries of your breasts, you better take that as a sign that if you have calcifications in the small capillaries in your breast, that you have calcifications all over your body, in your brain, in your neck, in your heart. That is a sign, okay? So that was just a side note that came into my head, in case women haven't had any, haven't had a calcium score or don't know anything about their coronary arteries or their blood pressure or whatever it is, and they go get their mammogram because they've been told at age 40 or whatever age they get it that, oh my gosh, I got calcifications in there. Is that cancer? No, it's not cancer, but those are capillaries indicating that if you have calcification in your breast, you got to go all over, okay? All over. So the answer would be, you could try, for the triglycerides and the blood sugar, you could try the berberine. You could try a bergamot. You could decrease the amount of fat that you take in and go slower. Also note that your gallbladder needs to be working. It's sluggish too from a crapola diet, or you don't have a gallbladder because they took out your gallbladder because you were eating crapola diet. That indicates you should go even slower. All right. Learn Lifer says, when I'm making 1+ ketones, my resting heart rate goes up 10 to 15%. I've been at it 10 months. Will my body eventually adjust? Why do some people resting heart rate increase? Your triglycerides are 37. HDL is high. I don't know what it is though. What's high? Let me know on that. Learn Lifer. So I don't know. Marshall. Oh my goodness. Marshall, do you know anything about myasthenia gravis? It seems to be making a rise since COVID. Well, if it's making a rise since COVID, what is a correlation with COVID? Is there a lot of inflammation going on? Autoimmunity? Diet mixed? Are we consuming more vitamins and minerals than we actually need? There's a lot of stuff going on there, S. Marshall. Yeah. Do I know specifically about myasthenia gravis? No. Lucy is commenting to Rob about eating just once a day as long as you're eating enough nutrient-dense food. I would agree. Sometimes that doesn't work for women. They naturally don't eat enough anyway, and they're especially not getting in enough protein. And Rob might not be getting in enough protein as well. If Rob is exercising, Rob is going to need at least, a gram per pound of body weight. And so we end up being nutritionally deficient, even though we're eating nutritionally dense foods. Hopefully that makes sense. see. Got it here. Give me a second. I'm trying to catch up. Okay. I'm trying to pick out the questions. Johnny says, do you have a cure for acne? I would find out why you have acne first, Johnny. That would be the first step, is why you have acne. It's an inflammatory condition, and it usually arises from a bad gut. Then I would start looking at what your gut, what's going on with your gut. We got to look into that with some testing. We got to look at that with the diet. We got to look at that with your stress. So no, I don't have a cure for acne until I find out what's causing it. Okay. E. Clark says, soy milk or nut milk? Neither. If you're going to drink milk, I would do A2 cow milk. Zobair says, what about if someone has saturated fat? What's the question? You didn't finish the question, and hopefully I can help you out. G. Ryan says LDL's right, the bad. Not always. Okay, not always are LDL the bad cholesterol. We need LDLs as part of the whole system to carry it. Remember, LDL stands for low density lipoprotein. Lipoproteins carry cholesterol and fat to all of the cells in our body. We need whatever LDL is carrying, we need to get the LDL to deliver the train. The train cars need to deliver the goods to the cells. Without that, so say you didn't have an LDL, how are you going to get fatty acids to the mitochondria? There's so much nuance to this. Are there bad guys that you would call a bad guy? I just don't think any of the lipoproteins are bad until we start talking about a small, dense LDL. Do I think they're damaging? Absolutely. They are damaged. They are oxidized. They are sticky. They're no good. And they rise heavily in a person who's eating a lot of carbohydrates. I have seen people who have small, dense LDLs because they have high blood sugars, because the body is not able to get rid of the blood sugar. It's not able to clear it. And so that protein on the small, dense LDLs glycates, meaning glycation means whenever a sugar binds to a protein. So small, dense lipoprotein. There's proteins in the cell membrane of an LDL or a small, dense LDL. There's protein inside the lipoprotein. That glucose binds to it and gums it up. And that's called glycation. And it forms an advanced glycation end product. Aging. It's aging you. It's we need oxidation, but our bodies are highly, highly oxidized and highly inflamed. Okay? There's a difference, okay? Now, some of you say, would it be better to add my own fat, which I can see. So you get lean meat, right? And you're gonna add maybe a little different kind of fat. Instead of eating plant fats, you might say, my fats I'm eating are butter or tallow. Of anything, those fats are probably better than a dairy fat, for instance. Okay, so good question on the LDLs. We just need to be careful on a broad brush stroke and saying all LDLs are bad, which kind of leads me into this, G. Ryan. I think, I'm kicking the can down the road here, but I think getting an ApoB and an LP(a) might be in your best interest. An ApoB is a protein attached to every LDL. And to every triglyceride. There's ApoB, it's a protein that's attached to every LDL. And so knowing what your ApoB is could give you an idea of where your LDLs are concerned, as well as your triglycerides are concerned. If it's high, like when I say high, I mean like maybe over 100 high, we need to start looking into things, okay? I would also get an LP little a. But you guys, at the same time, if we all just checked ApoB and everybody is going to be high, like over 100, especially if that person is eating a high saturated fat diet, guess what? Your LDLs are going to be high. And then those LDLs are going to have ApoB, and then the ApoB is going to be 150 or 160, and you're going, I'm going to die. Well, you aren't going to have a heart attack and die because of the ApoB. You're going to have a heart attack and die because you have plaque or a blood clot, and usually that's from the small, dense LDLs that are damaging. So getting a breakdown of those LDLs is in your best interest. It's called a advanced lipid test. It usually gives ApoB. It usually gives your LDL particle size, HDL particle size. It'll give triglycerides. It gives all of that. It'll even give triglyceride numbers. An advanced lipid test you have to ask for. Your doctor will not order it. It's worth it. They're not that expensive anymore. Okay. Mom says, do you recommend having gallbladder removed in general for someone who has a lot of gallstones, but currently bloating is the only symptoms? The bloating might not be from your gallstones. Again, the reason that person had gallstones is because the gallbladder wasn't working. So their bile got, it got thick. And that's called sludge. And then the sludge developed into gallstones. Or another part of that is cholesterol. That gallbladder wasn't working very well. They need to contract all the time and work. So the liver produces bile, and then the bile is stored in the gallbladder. If the gallbladder is not contracting on a regular basis, it leads to sludge, and then the sludge leads to stones. Now, do you necessarily have to have your gallbladder out because you have stones? No, I'm not saying that. The gallstones can break down over time, okay? They can break down over time depending on the diet. I've had a lot of my patients take gallstone blasters. We talked about this a couple weeks ago on our live stream. And I have seen gallstones disappear. The bloating, I would suggest to you that there's inflammation going on in your belly. It might not always be because you have gallstones, okay? But your gallbladder is likely inflamed, your gut is inflamed, and it's foods that you're putting in your body that is causing the inflammation. And you have a gut likely that is, it's leaky. When the inner lining of the gut gets inflamed, the cells they're supposed to be tightly bound together. But when the lining of the gut gets inflamed, we start developing gap junctions. And now things from the inside of the colon can get out and get everywhere. And we get symptoms like that person who had acne, or we get psoriasis or eczema or whatever. So, I always see a lot of gut stuff on the skin, but you can see it in your joints. There's just a lot of, our gut is our immune system when we don't take very good care of it. And a lot of times the things that we put into our gut, and I especially say that plants cause a lot of inflammation, okay? Lucy says, do people who eat meat only still can get high blood sugar? Yes, we did answer that. Vic says A1C is 5. That's awesome. Yeah, thank you, Lucy. I appreciate that. Yeah, hit the merchandise store. I appreciate it. Penny on YouTube says, I'm confused about a lab. It says my VLDL is 9. And a lot of times a VLDL, well, not a lot of times, but a VLDL and triglyceride ride in, I don't know what the reference value is, but yes, a VLDL at a 9 likely indicates that your triglycerides are also very low. I would like to know what your insulin level is, your HDL level. I would love to know your liver function. There's a lot of things that needs to be looked into instead of just your VLDL. You know, a tie-in, I'm going to try to tie this back in. I know it might sound that like I'm all over the place, but I need you guys to know, if you're checking ApoB and you're worried about your LDLs, and you're also worried about tying this in with your cognitive function, like you're feeling like you're in cognitive decline, or you got brain fog, or you're losing your memory, and you're worried about Alzheimer's dementia, type of cognitive decline. I think getting an ApoE panel, E1, E2, or excuse me, E2, 3, 4, okay? You guys should know that if you are, you know, heterozygous or homozygous for the ApoE4 gene, that is a risk factor for Alzheimer's, okay? Does it mean you're going to get Alzheimer's? No. Our environment, what you put in your food, your sleep, your exercise routine, your stress level plays a role in whether or not you are going to get Alzheimer's. But having that gene is like a whoa. It's an eye opener. So if you have an ApoE gene, either heterozygous, you know, one from mom but not from dad, or homozygous, one from mom, one from dad, you have a increased risk, okay? And let's say your ApoB is elevated, you are really at risk, okay? If you have an ApoE 3, so you got a 3 from mom and a 3 from dad, that is a very common pattern. It's not like you have an increased risk or a decreased risk. You're kind of an in-betweener, all right? I would still watch what you eat, how you sleep, what your stress is like, if you're exercising or not exercising. ApoE2, however, is protective, okay? So if your ApoE2 is on the higher side, that is a protective type of ApoE. ApoA is the LP little a, okay? That is an extra. On the LP little a, they have an LP little a, they have a B protein and they have an A protein. I know it sounds confusing. That's why that LP little a is even more detrimental. And they usually say that that is genetics. Now, does that mean you're gonna have a heart attack? No, I didn't say that. There's a lot of caveats to all of the information I'm giving you, and they need to be dealt with almost individually. So for me to tell you that everybody should be on a carnivore diet would be wrong. I'm telling you that a low carb, moderate protein, higher fat diet overall is in your best interest. If a person has problems on a carnivore diet and they're getting their labs and they're saying, this diet's not for me, again, it is not the diet, it's how your body is functioning with any diet, any lifestyle. So if you say, I feel so much better eating carbohydrates, or you know, somebody told you, well, you don't feel good on carnivore, just add back carbs. You might only need to add back carbs 1 day a week. It wasn't really the adding back carbs that fixed your, I'm not going to get a heart attack. There's nothing that the carbs do. This gets complicated. I'm going to say this right now. If you are a person that wants to add in carbs once a week and you find that it is helping with your blood levels, your lab levels, your lipid levels, go for it. No one is telling you what to eat. But it's not something that you say, gosh, I went from a standard American diet, I went to carnivore and I got worse. I can't believe that, because everything besides a standard American diet is bad. Even if you went to a vegan diet or a vegetarian diet, is going to be better than a standard American crapola diet. Okay? All right. I know that. Oh, 1910, somebody put you in timeout. We are very sorry, but happy Sunday. It wasn't me, but we apologize. Oh, Lucy is apologizing too. Sorry about that. Do omega-3s raise testosterone in men? Yes. But I probably would not take a capsule form of omega-3. I would try to get it through grass-fed meat, grass-fed eggs, or pasture-raised eggs, through fish, like wild-caught salmon, sardines, that sort of thing. But omega-3s are very important. They're very important. Remember, they're an essential fatty acid. Even omega-6 are essential fatty acids. We need our essential fatty acids. We're just getting too much of some and not enough of others. So we're not getting enough omega-3s, and we're getting way too many omega-6. So we just need to bring that level back down into a 1-to-1 ratio, okay? So yes, omega-3s for everybody helps. Helps our brain, helps our heart, and in Bill, it helps our testosterone levels, yes. Can the be absorbed topically? Can the omega-3s be absorbed topically? Is that what you're asking? I don't want to assume anything, so I'll let you help. RM says, what do you do with cramps after exercising so that breaks in between workouts is less? Breaks in, you got cramps after exercising and then you're still having them, and then you're wanting to take another exercise or do another exercise. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to read into this question, but okay, RM, I would definitely get your labs checked. Get a potassium, get a magnesium level, get, your electrolytes checked, all of them. But get an RBC magnesium, get an RBC zinc. I would definitely check those levels first to find out why you're having cramps. I mean, could it be hydration? But why? Could it be your potassium and magnesium are low? Sodium is too high. I mean, there's so many things going on. But getting RBC levels of magnesium, getting them of zinc, there are many people who are taking magnesium. And it's not that I'm opposed to that. I would just like to get a level first, okay? Getting a level checked of your magnesium. But it could be low magnesium, could be low potassium. Usually, those affect people in the night when they're sleeping. They'll get leg cramps and they'll just take more magnesium, but yet it could be a potassium problem. Remember, a low potassium will ride along with a low magnesium level, or vice versa. Karina says, what do I think about a 3-day dry fast? I think if it works for you, then it works. What are the benefits of a dry fast? Whenever we hydrate our fast, meaning drink water during our fast, it could slow down autophagy. Could. If you feel great on a 3-day dry fast, after the first 24 to 36 hours, your physiologic water starts to kick in, and most people can get past 3 days or get into 3 days. But yeah, you're healing, you're causing mitophagy, so old mitochondria are repairing themselves or dying off, and your cells' autophagy is going on much, much more rapidly than if you were to do a water fast, and much, much more rapidly than even if you are just on a strictly carnivore diet, because you are getting autophagy on a carnivore diet. If the fat intake is enough, if you got ketones on board, you're going to be in autophagy, okay? It just might not be as rapid. So exercise will cause autophagy. Yeah, thank you, Lucy. The super stickers helps. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yes, Lucy, I think it would be a good idea to get an ApoE, get an ApoB, so E and B, get the whole ApoE profile. Don't just get an ApoE4. You might want to know if you're an ApoE33. Are you an ApoE23? Remember, these are genetics, and you can tell a lot by, genetics. I mean, as simple as that. Snip says, my father has a 95 blockage of his coronary arteries. I'm guessing that is his CAC score, and will soon have bypass surgery. What is it in eating and lifestyle that lead to his artery damage? Well, I'm guessing your father is older. I mean, I don't know how old he is, but it's a lifetime. It's a lifetime of him eating a certain way that led to the plaquing building up, okay? And it's hard to get into specifically about what your dad ate, but likely he simply ate a standard American diet that was high in processed foods, seed oils, and sugar. That is the most likely cause of plaque formation. But think about it. Maybe he had high blood pressure, but why does he have high blood pressure? Well, that could be high insulin. Why high insulin? High carbs, high glucose. Metabolically speaking, it can go back to diet. Maybe they drink alcohol. Alcohol can cause damage to the lining of the arteries, damage the glycocalyx, damage the endothelial cells. We talked about this yesterday. It could be smoking. Smoking can damage the interior lining. Once the interior lining gets damaged, the Band-Aid, the plaque, forms. And if you don't stop what's damaging it, there's not going to be any regression of all of the things, the fibrin and fibrinage, the fibrin formation and the blood cells and white blood cells and all of the debris that goes into forming a plaque to help your body cope with an injury to the lining. So one thing, I don't know what it is. It could be sugar, it could be smoking, it could be alcohol, it could be polyunsaturated fatty acids, it could be nanoplastics, microplastics, anything you're breathing in, heavy metals. I mean, gosh, yeah. But I would definitely get rid of processed foods, seed oils, and sugar moving forward after the bypass. Bill, I don't know if omega-3s can be absorbed topically. I mean, it just depends. I'm not sure. I'd have to look that up. And Frost, I don't know about zinc and the pineal gland. I apologize. But if you're thinking about taking zinc, be careful, because zinc and copper and zinc and vitamin A go back, and if one's high, one's low, one's high, we have to be very careful taking supplements is what I'm trying to say. Somebody who takes zinc and vitamin C and vitamin D could lower vitamin A. Vitamin A will lower copper. If we lower copper, then we're going to raise iron and drive it into the liver. And then when the iron gets into the liver, it causes liver to malfunction. And then we get into that point where the liver's not making good bile, and then we can't emulsify fats. Whew, there's a whole bunch going on. And so zinc affects every cell, not just the cells of the pineal gland. But specifically, I can't answer your question, but I just know that we need zinc. We might not need as much as we're getting, and we might have too much of what we're getting. Getting an RBC zinc level, getting an RBC magnesium level, getting an RBC selenium level, checking vitamin A, checking your copper level, an RBC copper level. Know all these things instead of just simply, I'm going to take this or I'm going to take that. I understand what you're doing, and I'm kudos to you for learning all these things, but we could be making a mistake with something else. Okay. Lucy asks, I stopped my caffeine and noticed more anxiety, not less. And I was, wait. I checked my heart rate and it was higher than usual. Do you know what could lead to this? One, I would ask, when did you stop your caffeine? I mean, is it recent that you just stopped it and you say, hey, I heard that caffeine's not good for me. It raises my heart rate. It raises my cortisol. It makes me stress. There goes my sympathetic nervous system. My sympathetic nervous system is in overdrive. My parasympathetic nervous system is low, and I'm a mess. I'm going to stop my coffee. So you stop your coffee or you stop your soda because you think caffeine is a cause, and you're going, oh my gosh, this made me feel worse. My heart rate is up. I'm more anxious than I was on my coffee, and I'm just going to go back to my coffee. Okay, but what is the reason for that? When you stop caffeine abruptly, the caffeine is also blocking in adenosine. And what is adenosine? Adenosine is it relaxes us. Okay. So let's say you were doing caffeine every single day, and it was blocking your relaxation, your adenosine, and now you cold turkey the caffeine. It's going to cause a rush or a buildup of all of these relaxing type adenosine, and that overwhelms your body. You get nervous. You're going to get anxious. You're going to get your heart rate up. I want to say simply, it is rebound. If you give it 7-10 days, it will likely go away. Also, when you withdraw from anything, that is a stress to your body. So your body was really, really used to taking in caffeine, and now you take it away, it stresses your body. It's a stress. And that stress releases cortisol. And that cortisol then picks up heart rate, picks up blood sugar, picks up all these things. So I guess simplistically, yes, this can be normal. You could wean off slower, or suck it up if you went cold turkey and just, suck it up for the 3 or 4 days or 7 days, and it will get better. For the same thing, Stephen, I truly believe that the caffeine for you and other people feeling relaxed is just tolerance. And it's not that the caffeine causing you to relax. It's when you don't have it, you're getting anxious. And that is from what I just told you. So it's not that the caffeine is relaxing you as much as when you stop the caffeine, you're getting these side effects. Okay? Hopefully that answers your question. Lucy says, I am getting an RBC zinc level on my next lab as I might be deficient, possibly. I track my food on a chronometer and notice I hardly get any zinc and biotin. Trying to add more lamb, chicken, beef liver. And Lucy makes a good point. The ruminant meats are the best if you're going to eat them. So beef, bison, sheep, lamb, deer, beef, sheep, lamb, deer, bison, buffalo. Yep, deer. Okay. So eating the ruminant meats are good, and especially eating organs. You know, there'll be influencers out there and say, we've been eating carnivore for blah, 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 1,000 years. Okay. True. But they didn't simply just eat the muscle. Okay. They ate everything. They drank the blood. They ate the fat. They ate every organ. They ate everything. We are not doing that. And that's why some people say, well, carnivore is just not good for me, and I'm going to add back carbs. Well, it wasn't that the carnivore diet wasn't good for you. It is good for you if you were actually eating a carnivore diet, which is everything. So getting omega-3s, just eating the meat might not give you the essential omega-3s that you need, okay? Just eating the meat might give you too many omega-6, especially if the animals were grain-fed. You're not need, everybody does, and maybe not every day. By the way, if Diane is listening right now, I just want to tell you, thank you for the gift. Oh my gosh. I'm just over the, I'm just over the moon, thankful for Diane, Diane's flowers for the tremendous gift I got late last week. It's amazing. So thank you. Eating grass-fed, grass-finished, organic meat is like the 1-2 punch. But like Lucy is saying, we need to incorporate I know it sounds gross, but when I buy chicken livers, I like chicken liver. I like beef liver. But in our family, we drink the blood that it's sitting in too. We don't let that go to waste. Pour it over our food, and we go all in. I do eat some pork liver. I know some of that might gross you guys out, but I eat that at least an ounce every day. Every day I eat about an ounce of pork liver. I like it. I grew up on pork liver. I have always eaten it. It's in the form of liver sausage. For those of you who are worried about parasites, it's fully cooked by the time we get it. So am I afraid of the parasites? I'm not going to feed the parasites with a whole bunch of sugar. Anyway, I'm not going to eat processed foods that are high in iron, in non-heme iron. I'm just not going to do those things. So hopefully I'm starving those little rent-freers in my body. Parasites, bacteria, viruses, fungus. Yeah, I don't want them living in me, but I'm sure we all have them. Hopefully that answered the question, or for Lucy, it was just a reminder for me to tell you to eat your organs, okay? And drink the blood and eat the collagen, eat the gristle, chomp on the bones if you're eating chicken, eat the dark meat. It's very important to get that heme iron. Pasture-raised chickens would be the best. A grain-fed chicken is going to be very high in omega-6. So if you're eating their skin and their fat, you're going to get high amounts of omega-6. And that undoes that nice ratio that we want of omega-3 to omega-6, which is a 1-to-1 ratio. Yeah, correct, Lucy. If anyone is wanting their labs reviewed, please let me know. Email me at IronLadyDoc@AOL.com. IronLadyDoc@AOL.com. Yeah, Stephen, a lot of us do have very high caffeine tolerances. You might be somebody who just wants to slowly wean off a little. There's going to be people that are going to tell you caffeine is good for your heart. Caffeine is bad for your heart. I don't think we really know. Okay. I just don't think there's enough 100-year studies on people who are drinking 5 cups of coffee a day versus 4 cups, 3 cups, 2 cups, no cups, and whether or not they get a heart attack. There's not going to be a study that's going to show. And, I think there's a lot of worse things that we could be putting into our body than our coffee. Okay. But if you're drinking 10 cups a day and you're not drinking water, then that might be a problem. So back off a little bit. Okay. Mom Handle says, gallstones, bloating, what labs should I request? One, a CMP, a complete metabolic profile. So it's called a CMP, and most all doctors get one. You also might want to get a GGT, a GGT. That's going to give even better indication of your liver, okay? Get a CBC, okay? A CBC will give some information, your complete blood count. That will give information in regards to your liver as well. I mean, just looking at an MCV, and you don't need to know all these, but I'm just trying to give you some context. Looking at the mean corpuscular volume on a CBC can give a lot of information about your liver, okay, and its function. Gallstones, I would get an insulin level. I would get thyroid. Get all the thyroids, like a TSH, a free T3, so an FT3, an FT4, free T4, a reverse T3. I would get a TG and a TPO. Those are antibodies. A TG and a TPO. Those are the antibodies to your thyroid. If you, Mom Handle, if I'm going too fast and you can't remember all these things, you can email me and I will send you a list of labs, okay? I will send you a list. You don't have to pay me for me to send you a list of labs. So email me and I'll get those to you. But I think getting a thyroid, a CBC, a CMP, a GGT, and insulin, those are a good start, okay? Now, I don't know, Mom Handle, did that, if it's you or the person you're speaking about, did they get an ERCP? It's a type of test they can do in the radiology department. A GI doctor can do an ERCP. Did they do that to see, about gallbladder function, or if there's a stone stuck in a duct somewhere, something like that? That might be important to obtain. Lucy asks, is there an upper limit and how much organ meat you should have per day? Well, think about it like this, Lucy. When, like, say we go back to our ancestors, we're, the hunters, they might not have gotten a catch for a couple days. They might have kind of partied up and they got a bison, and their family would eat that bison. The whole community would eat that bison, and say they ate it in 2 or 3 days, and they ate all the parts of it, and then they might not get another kill for a few more days. So these people weren't necessarily eating every single day. And for me, I think eating an ounce of an organ meat once a day is not bad. But if you're eating 6 ounces a day, that might be too high in like vitamins, like vitamin A. We might be getting too much. So we don't want to overdo it, but we don't want to underdo it. And honestly, and this is me knowing my body, when I eat, I will have a craving for liver. Like my body tells me, ooh, that sounds really good right now. Just like yesterday when I got done with my workout, I was starving. And all I could think about was sardines. I never think about sardines, you guys. Never. I mean, I almost have to force myself to eat sardines, okay? But yesterday I came home and I needed sardines. That tells me that I might be low in fat, omega-3s, okay? And that tells me my brain was suggesting to me that I might be low, or vitamin A, or vitamin D. And instead of just checking my labs all the time, I go by, how does my body feel? And yesterday, I felt like I needed sardines. And a lot of times I get not a craving, it's not a craving, but I'll tell myself, ooh, you need to eat some liver. And then I could not eat it for 2 days and not miss it. And then the next day I'll say, I need to eat some liver for some reason, okay? And so I'll eat my liver. I don't necessarily think there's an upper limit of normal unless you eat, 4 ounces a day, and then you check your levels and they're high, and then you back off and then they go back down. Everybody's body is different on how they process these things, so it's hard to say there's an upper or lower limit. 1910 says, I tried chicken liver. I could only do about 3 bites. The texture got me. Flavor was initially really good, but I gave the rest to the dogs. Nice, awesome. So you took in about 3 bites or 2 bites, and that's all it took. Texture got to you. The flavor was initially pretty good. Here's what I do, 1910. Maybe your body was telling you had enough. I'm good with that, okay? And definitely give the rest to the dogs. Don't waste it. Perfect. What I do sometimes with chicken liver, I will actually cook it and not eat it hot. I will cook it and actually eat it cold. In fact, I might cook it, put it in the refrigerator in a little baggie or a glass bowl or something, and then eat it the next day. And cold chicken liver to me tastes so much better than hot right off the pan eating chicken liver. Then you might be the same way, 1910. So give it a try if you feel like you're still low on liver and you want to eat some chicken liver or even beef liver. I prefer cold than I do. Now, I'm not going to eat I don't eat any raw meat. I might eat it medium rare. I personally don't like the taste of raw meat. I just don't. And so I stay away from it. So I'm definitely not going to be one that eats raw liver. I don't have a taste for it. But if I can eat it cooked or cooled after cooked, and it doesn't have to be, you might just sear it. I sear liver all the time. And then I put it in the refrigerator and I'll eat it the next day. It tastes to me so much better. Okay. Wayne says, my cardiologist told me he didn't need to see me for a whole year. Now, after I lost 220 pounds on carnivore, but 3 years ago, they wanted to do a triple bypass. Okay. Do you have a question in regards to that? I mean, Wayne, congratulations, 220 pounds. Now, granted, your bypass and the buildup of the plaque was likely due to your years of gaining the 220 pounds through your food and the poor choices of food. So, you know, I don't know how does that make you feel, Wayne, to have your cardiologist say, hey, I don't need to see you for a year? Does that make you feel scared? Does that make you feel good? Are you okay with that? What's going on in your body, in your heart, in your mind, in your brain? Like what's going on? What emotions are you having when your cardiologist tells you something like that? Yeah, Z Ryan, I can agree wholeheartedly with your sentiments on Christ being the healer, the Rapha healer, and that man can't heal us. I understand where your sentiments are coming from, but I want you to keep one thing in perspective, okay? God, Jesus, the Holy Spirit is in me. I am a follower of Jesus. God gave me blessings. God gave me tools. And if I use those tools for his glory, then I'm going to be on here helping you guys. I am human. I am man according to Bible, okay? Woman, man, we are human and we are made in the image of God. I praise the Lord for giving me the tools to get me where I'm at right now. Every one of you have been given blessings by God. Whether you use them to his glory or to your glory is the real question, okay? No, man cannot heal. But man, human, has been giving tools to help bless you guys for God's glory. So he gives me the ability to look things up. He gives me the ability to speak to you for 2 hours 4 hours every weekend and share things with you for his glory, not my glory. We are human, and it feels good when you give me kudos and you give me a super sticker and you make me feel good. That's my emotions. I'm reacting to things, but I'm not idolizing me. There is one true God, and I am not it. And so I understand your sentiments, Ryan. I keep calling you Ryan. I apologize. I slaughtered your name, but please know I'm talking to you. If we use the tools that God gave us and we use those for his glory, then we're doing God's work. I feel that I'm doing God's work by sharing things with you. I could be wrong, okay? I might be way off base. But I want to get you guys to open up your brain and start learning, start building up knowledge, start building up wisdom and discernment, because we are being influenced by man, okay? That man that is not working for God's glory, but man that's working for Satan's glory, and they're all over. This world is Satan's world. We live in this world, but not of this world. I'm a follower of Jesus. This is not my world. Heaven is going to be my world. The 1,000-year reign, God's earth, I'm going to be here, okay? But this world is Satan's world and his minions. And they're trying to confuse us, and they're trying to make things chaotic, and they're trying to give us bad advice. And many, 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 many people have been indoctrinated, have been fed lies for the glory of man and not for God. I pray that the Lord comes into me and gives me discernment, gives me wisdom, gives me knowledge. I don't know if I'm spreading God's word, but I feel like I am. I feel like I'm sharing things. And if I'm sharing it wrong, at least I'm getting to open up your eyes and your ears and your senses to saying, hey, maybe the information I'm being told about LDL cholesterol is a lie. Maybe it was for someone else's glory, not God's glory. I just can't see that God, I know he didn't, but I never get on board that God made a mistake. He didn't make like this cutoff switch that said, oh, your LDL reaches 180, you're a goner. He didn't, I just don't think there's a kill switch in us like that. I can't get on board with that either, but there's many things that we do that really treat the temple very, very badly. And God did not make that, didn't mean for us to do that, but he gave us free choice. So your free choice is allowing you, you're saying, hey, I got free choice, I'll do whatever I want. That's what you're using with your free choice. I mean, who's going to fault you on that? Okay. Bill says, do you recommend a multivitamin? No. With iron? No. Those are synthetic. I would never put synthetic iron in my body. Okay. If you have iron deficiency, I would eat heme-rich iron, not non-heme plant foods, not non-heme synthetic iron that's in vitamins. I would not. Okay. And you might not even know that you have iron deficiency. You might have iron dysregulation, but you don't have iron deficiency. You have plenty of iron. It's just all in the wrong spot. So you don't keep taking more of the iron that's in the wrong spot. You already have too much of that iron that's in the wrong spot, and that's non-heme iron in most cases, okay? So taking more of the same might make you feel good initially, but it's making your liver not work, it's making your muscles not work, it's making your brain not work. You're basically rusting in the inside out, from the inside out, by taking these things without knowing everything. You got to look at all of your labs, get iron studies. In fact, the person who asked about the labs, and I can't remember, but iron studies, I totally forgot. Everybody needs to get their iron studies. Their iron, their transferrin, their ferritin, their TIBC, the saturation, you need all of that, okay? If you're looking at your liver function, you need iron studies. Don't simply just take it because you looked at a hemoglobin or just a hematocrit or just your ferritin level and it's low and you say, ooh, I need iron. I'm going to take ferrous fumarate. No, please don't. You need more information. Yeah, don't be deceived, for all afflictions are caused by separation of truth. And the truth is Jesus. The truth, I am the way, the truth, or I am the way, the truth and the life, and no one comes to the Father except through me. John 14:6. Okay? When we are separated from God, we allow Satan and his minions to creep into our thoughts, to tickle our ear, and to get us to think things that are not of God. Okay? They're of this world. Yeah, Lara, I agree. We are his greatest creation. He told us that. We were made on the last day. He saved the best for last, didn't he? Yeah, gluten, that's a very good point. I don't know who Dr. Daniel Amen is, but yes. Okay. Caffeine vasoconstricts and then it vasodilates, because once the caffeine is out, then you're going to get a vasodilatation. So the person who says, you're getting a decreased blood flow to the brain, the concept is appropriate. I get it. All right. But you're right in thinking about the adenosine receptors, the relaxation receptors. And it all has to do when you kind of go cold turkey off of caffeine. Now, you're going to hit, the Dr. Daniels, and you're going to hit the Dr. Ovadias, and you're going to hit the Dr. Jamnatises of the world, and they're all going to have a different opinion on caffeine. And right now, I don't know who's right or wrong. I don't know if I'm right or wrong. I just don't know, because there's not enough scenarios. There's so many other things in regards to our brain that we're not taking into consideration. Like, we're not taking into consideration ketones. We're not taking into consideration glucose. We're not taking into consideration reading a book, handwriting, exercising, sleeping, getting in the sun. We're not doing any of that. And we're taking what Dr. Daniel says out of context. And we're saying, oh, caffeine restricts blood flow, get rid of caffeine, and our brain will start getting blood flow. Not so, but that might not be what actually Dr. Daniel is saying. We're just pulling out little things. Like, you could pull out little things I say and then skew that. But maybe Dr. Daniel had something way more talking about. I'm not defending him. I don't even know who he is, okay? But he might have been talking about a humongous big picture thing, and we only heard stop caffeine because it restricts blood flow. Get rid of caffeine, we'll get vasodilatation, and blah, blah, blah. You could say the same thing about high blood pressure. What if high blood pressure, in some people, you say, oh, high blood pressure is not getting blood flow to the brain, and so people with high blood pressure don't get blood to the brain. So let's give a blood pressure lowering medicine. Now you lower their blood pressure. And remember, the person who has high blood pressure had it for years, and their lining of the artery is stagnant. It has very little muscle left. It's like lead pipes. So you're taking a person who's had high blood pressure for a long time. Your body's protective mechanism was to increase the blood pressure in order to get blood to flow to the brain. That was God's way saying, increase blood pressure now, okay? We need to get blood to the brain. Because if the blood pressure, if we give a medicine and it lowers it, now we lowered the pressure, and now we can't get blood to the brain. But nobody thinks like that. We say, oh, I got to lower the pressure, but your arteries in your body have no more muscle left. You've destroyed them. Your arteries are like lead pipes. There's no movement. If you lower pressure, now blood's going to stagnate, and now it's going to clot. And now when it does flow, boom, you throw a blood clot somewhere, have a brain attack or a heart attack, or I don't know the right answer, you guys. I'm just walking through things logically that maybe these things are protective mechanisms for us, kind of like building a tumor. A tumor is a collection of toxins that the body's trying to wall off. And then we go poke a sleeping bear and it spreads it. Maybe the tumor was the right thing to do. And then you could have lived with that tumor. I don't know, but maybe you could have lived with that tumor, not even known it was there, but they found it incidentally, and they go, oh my gosh, you got a 6 centimeter tumor growing in you. We better go remove it or poke it or see what it is. And then you go on chemo and radiation and you die in like a year. When you could have, I don't know, but you could have not even known the tumor was there. It could have been 6 inches for the past 25 years. And you're living the dream. You're feeling great. You're running. You're exercising. You're enjoying the sun. You're working. You got a family. You're going on vacations, and you didn't even know you had the tumor. Or the tumor's just growing so big over the past 30 years that it starts pinching on things, and now you find it, and then you do the radiation and the chemo and the whole 9 yards. I mean, I don't know the right answer. Okay. Lucy says, I'm going to start eating 1 ounce of cooked liver in butter per day. Sounds like a plan. Let me know how that goes, Lucy. Crick says, isn't balance of nutrition important? Define balance of nutrition for me. Gluten says, I rarely eat liver, but I'm considering eating it for health reasons. Good. I think that's a good choice. Hello, Abhi. Thank you for being here. Where are you guys listening from? What city, what state, what country? Hit the thumbs up. As a reminder, please, everybody, hit the thumbs up or the heart or whatever. And if you haven't already subscribed, subscribe. It helps the channel. It helps me. It helps my channel. Hey doc, I'm eating pretty much carnivore. Well, you're either eating carnivore or you're not eating carnivore. There's no pretty much. You know, what is carnivore? Carnivore is low carb, no carb. Carnivore is no carb. You could be keto, which is 20 grams or 30 grams or less. You could be eating ketovore, which is around 10 to 20 grams per day of carbs. But if you mostly or pretty much eat carnivore, then you're really not carnivore. You're ketovore, you're keto. Or you're not even keto, okay? I've tried raw milk in my tea is my only, that raw milk in your tea is your only fail. But now I can't lose 1 more pound. How do I lose my last 7 pounds to hit my goal? This is a great question. I think dairy can be a problem for many people. I think liquid dairy can be the biggest problem for people. So I would suggest to Julia, get rid of the dairy. You'll know in a week whether that was it. Dairy is very inflammatory. Dairy is high in casein. It is very addicting to many people because of the casomorphines. If it's milk, you know, you might want to try cream. But again, I think if you're wanting to get rid of that last little bit, go dairy free. It's, you know, dairy has one great aspect to it. It causes us to grow. We drink milk as infants because we need to grow. Cows feed their calves milk to get them to grow. Dairy grows us. If you want to stop growing in that sort of way, get rid of the dairy, okay? Just give it a try and let us know, Julia, how things go. Wayne says, amen, I send my praises up to God and he rains his blessings down on me. That's awesome. That's beautiful. Shelley says, I love you, Dr. Iron. Yes, it can be somewhat scary because there are so many evil out there, but stay with the light. God is so amazing. God will do his will. I agree. And that's, you know, I actually was at the gym this morning and I was texting one of my friends. They text me in regards to something. And we were talking about being overwhelmed with all the information. She is also a physician assistant. And I said, does that ever overwhelm you? I mean, sometimes I get so overwhelmed with all of the information that I read or I talk about or I hear or I try to share. It's so overwhelming that you get to a point sometimes where you don't even know what's right anymore. And I'm there. I get there every day. I have little moments where I question everything. And sometimes I highly wonder, if that questioning of myself is Satan whispering in my ear, sweet nothings. When God is saying, be confident. If you listen to me, I will share with you the truth. And that's what I need to be doing more of and less of letting my doubts, because I truly believe that the doubts are from Satan. Okay? I want to feel confidence, but I also don't want to be arrogant and tell you that what I know is the truth and nothing but the truth. That's just not right, because in a month from now, I might find out that a certain type of LDL or a certain type of HDL is also bad and whatnot. And that's what learning is all about. It's a journey and I'm on it with you. And in 2 hours, I can maybe share a whole lot of information. Then it would take you 20 hours to go listen and read and do all that stuff. Nenya business, I like that. That's a great practice to do, is that's for someone else's glory. I'm going to start using that insightful phrase. Good. Shelley says, that's what my concern. How long do I have to take medication? My pressures have been wonderful, but I concern how long I do need to stop. My doctor says for a long time. I don't know what medicine you're on. I don't know what your blood pressure is. I don't know if you've tried to titrate off. There's a lot of questions, Shelley. I don't think I could have just a one answer. You know, you can always try weaning off, but again, you need to work with your doctor. This is not medical advice. It's just that you need to talk to your doctor and have a plan of action, plan and action, and ask them to work with you and say, hey, let's try this, okay? Tired is listening from California. Thank you. Also loving raw milk. Raw milk is the most anti-inflammatory thing I've ever tried. I agree. It's less inflammatory than anything else, right? Shelley says, how about carnation milk and coffee? That's fake and processed, and I would not recommend it. It's probably going to increase more inflammation. Hard to please. I am family practice. Oh yeah, Lucy answered that, sorry. What medical school? I went to the University of Osteopathic Medicine and Health Sciences in Des Moines, Iowa. It's now called DMU, Des Moines University. Good morning, Gio. Gluten is listening from the UK. I love your logical approach and way of breaking down topics and explaining in great detail to give us a better understanding. How multiple, I know, it's so complex, isn't it? I agree. Everything that we're learning is so complex. There's so many little details and intricacies, and we really need to stop taking things out of context. Oh, you're very welcome, Shelley. Os 200 says, I heard almond milk is worse than regular milk. I mean, in my belief, just thinking logically, almond is a plant. Plants in general are inflammatory. When we grind up a bunch of almonds are high in oxalates, they're high in phytates, they're high in lectins. We are actually increasing the bad things that cause inflammation in our body. There's also high amounts of sugar, and it's not really milk. Almonds are not milk. Milk is from a cow or an animal. Milk is from an animal. You can't get animal milk from a plant. You could spin it down all you like, and you could say it's white cream, but is it really white, or did you make it white? I don't know. I've never spun an almond down that much to get milk. I've spun an almond down to make almond butter, but I've never gone further to a creamy texture and then have white, what I would say is called milk. I've never seen it, but maybe I just didn't spin it down long enough and it turns from brown to white. I don't know, but I'm not putting plants in my body that increase inflammation, oxalates, phytates. Were they cooked? Are they raw almonds? That's even worse. Were they peeled almonds? Because the peel of the almonds has all the lectins. We don't know anything, Os 200, so I'm not going there with anything almond spun down to whatever and call it milk. Just me. Hard to please. I'm not your doctor, hard to please. So I think maybe hard to please. What's your thought on creatine? Oh, gosh, that's a great question. Creatine is, okay, if you're a meat eater, let's just go with that. If you are eating meat, if you're eating a pound of meat a day, you're going to get about 1 to 2 grams of creatine a day, okay? Studies with the brain have been shown to show improvement in cognition with very high doses of creatine. Remember, creatine is a breakdown, a chemical, a precursor. Creatine supplies a phosphate group to ADP to make ATP. Creatine supplies a phosphate to ADP to make ATP, or AMP to make ADP to make ATP, okay? It's making energy. Now, there are studies ongoing in high doses of creatine. When I say high doses, I'm saying upwards to 20 to 25 grams. When you take 1 scoop of creatine, that's about 5 grams of creatine. And the muscle is going to get that creatine first, not the brain. So if you're eating a pound of steak, a pound of ribeye, and there's 1 to 2 grams in there, you don't take any other supplements, the muscle is going to snatch up that creatine because the muscle is so hungry. That leaves very little for the brain. Now, is your liver making creatine? Yes. And then we intake some. So let's just say you get a total of 4 grams, okay? Again, the muscle could suck up 5 grams of that. So is any of it getting to where the brain is, where you're needing in the brain? And then think about it. Most people today aren't eating meat. So where are they getting their creatine? They're just they're just allowing their body to make it, okay? The liver. It might not be enough. So these ongoing studies, and when you say depressive disorder, I'm talking in general brain. It could be Alzheimer's, depression, anxiety, MS, any neurodegenerative aspect, okay? Studies are looking good on creatine, especially 20 grams of creatine, high dose. But here's where we come into the picture is they're going to say, oh, well, your age, you're 80 years old, you don't need that much. Not true. Age does not matter. Well, you're a woman and not a man, so you don't need as much. Nope, not true. So it doesn't make a difference of age or gender or even your weight. Those are not considerations. What I would say is, are you getting a good creatine supplement, Kayette? Are you getting what I think is pure creatine? And definitely don't get the flavored kind, but maybe look for something from Creapure. So it's got to be a Creapure. It's pure creatine. Just my thoughts on it. And I think we're going to find out more and more people listening to influencers, listening to other docs and going, hey, I think I'm going to do a trial on creatine. I might start with 5 grams, see how I do, then go to 10 grams. I might go up to 20. I don't know. I think we're going to be our own studies here, N of ones. Oh, 1910, that's a common scenario. In 2010, I ate raw almonds because all the cool kids were doing it. I had such bad stomach pain, I almost went to the ER. I'm sorry to hear that, but yeah, you were likely getting oxalate toxicity. And people die from oxalate toxicity. Oh, got it. That God K5B, I'm not sure. God K5 says, I use sound frequencies to alter my body, but the radiation is intense, like my skin peels. Any foods to reduce inflammation? No, I would stop. That is telling you, if your body's reacting like that, to me, it says that is harmful for your body, and I would stop. Okay? I wouldn't try to eat and keep the harmful frequencies. Wayne, that's a funny story. Yeah, drinking a lot of raw milk when he was a kid until grandma's cow stopped giving as much milk. That's a cute story. Found your glass in the barn, huh? Justin says, what are some symptoms of low T and treatments? Low T could be libido, low T could be low muscle mass, low T could be low energy, low T could be depression. Those are some of the symptoms. I would definitely get your levels checked before doing anything else. You want a baseline, okay? So it might not be your testosterone at all. It might be thyroid, it might be your liver function, it might be a whole bunch of things, okay? It could be iron overload, it could be a lot of stuff, okay? So if you're thinking, before you start taking any treatments with testosterone, get your levels checked. Get a free and a total testosterone. Get an estradiol level. Get a progesterone level. Get a sex hormone binding level, sex hormone binding globulin level. Get all of those levels before you delve into saying, hey, I'm going to take something. Then, if you're obese and you have a lot of fat on you, your fat is producing aromatase enzyme. And that aromatase enzyme is converting testosterone to estradiol. So that's why men are getting, gynecomastia, man boobs, because of the aromatization from their belly fat into estrogens. So they're estrogen. So taking more testosterone may not be the answer. You got to get rid of the belly fat, which is aromatizing all of your testosterone. So if you continue to give testosterone, are you just aromatizing that much more and making yourself even fatter? It's good questions. Kush says, why do I feel like I have spiders in my ears? Well, I would definitely go to an ENT and have them look inside there. David says, if you have type 2 diabetes and blood sugar starts to rise to 101 without insulin, should I worry? David, do you have a continuous glucose monitor? Are you just on insulin or are you on oral anti-diabetics? What is your diet like? There's a lot going on. Is a 101 detrimental? No, but if it's 101 now, but it's 180 and at another time, it's the ups and downs that are the worst. When you have spikes of glucose, that's when it's really bad, okay? That's causing a lot of glycation. Okay, let me give you an example. We can have an average of 101, okay? And you go from 102 to 99 or 90 or 100, and you have an average of 101. Or you can have an elevation of 200 and down to 99, and your average is 101. That latter is much worse than the former. Does that make sense? You want your blood sugars like this versus up, down, up, down, up, down like a roller coaster. So using a continuous glucose monitor might be able to tell you that. Or a finger stick, just checking it frequently. Thorn says, or asks, what are my thoughts on methylene blue? I don't know enough about methylene blue that I could comment and be reasonably thinking straight. I just don't know. I don't know. I don't know if it's just all, hype right now. I don't know. I don't even know what the dosing would be. I don't know about putting a blue dye into my body. There's so many things I don't know. I guess I would want to know, why am I taking it? That would make me nervous. I try to keep things as simple as possible. And if I'm taking it for a certain thing, then I would want to know, why is that certain thing either normal or abnormal? There's always these questions. It's like peeling back an onion, and there's layers, okay? And I think one of the best analogies is when you ask somebody, why the Titanic sank. Well, the Titanic sank because it hit an iceberg. Well, why did this Titanic sink why did the Titanic hit an iceberg and then sink? Well, because they were going too fast. Why were they going too fast that they hit an iceberg and then they sank? Makes sense? You're asking why, and getting down to what I would say, this is just like the root cause. So simply taking, methylene blue for something, you say, why do I have that something? Okay. Okay, David says, no changes to medications to keep my blood glucose level around 100 to 103. But after 2 weeks of no insulin, has been staying at 101. Are you wanting it to go down below 101? I think after, it's going to take time. Like, say you're on a carnivore diet, your blood sugars are lower that my blood glucose level is around 100 to 103. Is that fasting? What is it 2 hours? I would want to know that. What is your insulin level? You're on no insulin, so you can get an insulin level. If you're a type 2 diabetic and taking insulin, that means it indicates to me that your beta cells might not have been working. Can they come back? That's a good question. So the purpose of you going on insulin, was it because the oral diabetes medicines stopped working, and that was your last ditch effort, is your doctor gives you insulin? Or did your doctor put you on insulin right away, didn't give you oral anti-diabetics? I just don't know the whole story, David. It's, you're worried that your liver is failing. I don't know why you'd be worried that your liver is failing. Are you more worried that your pancreas is failing? Julia says, do you think 98/60 blood pressure is okay for a 59-year-old? I would ask you, Julia, are you dizzy? Are you lightheaded? Do you feel good? Is your energy level awesome? Are you energized during the day? Are you in slow-mo fatigue all day long? Those are just some things that I would look into. Oh, yeah, Kaya, that's a very good question. Brain-derived neurotropic factor, BDNF, goes up with exercise. BDNF goes up with exercise, okay? It goes up especially in people who lift weights, okay? If we want to relate BDNF to what we call a super ager, meaning you're aging really, really well. You get one of those tests done and they say you're 59 years old, but your body's like a 39-year-old. These people will also get a VO2 max, okay? A VO2 max is how well are you using oxygen in your body? An elite athlete, their VO2 max could be 80. In a senior, say if you're 70 years old, your VO2 max might be 42. High aerobic fitness is going to trigger biologic processes that increase brain size. This is aerobics. So with oxygen, you're going to do some aerobics, cardio. You will see increase in brain size, or even just preventing decline or preventing the progression into a smaller brain. Naturally, our brain shrinks, especially the hippocampus, 1 to 2% per year. That is normal. But that's our memory center, the hippocampus. So if you say, as I get older, it's a natural aging process, I'm getting older, my memory is going down, they said that's normal because the hippocampus is shrinking. Could be normal. But if you were to do a year of doing cardio, say every day for a year or 5 days a week for a year of doing aerobics, cardio, could regain that 1 to 2% of hippocampal loss. That's how amazing that doing exercise can increase your BDNF. The higher VO2 max, so the ability to use that oxygen, is also associated with a higher cortex of the brain. So the outer covering of the brain. That's where you do your executive functioning, okay? And there's a test, and I actually got to take this back to the gym. So because I put it in my pocket of my hoodie and I forgot. So in order to exercises you can do to increase the cortex of your brain, the thickening, the executive functioning of your brain, you could do tennis ball exercises, or in this case, these ball exercises. I don't want to bounce it because when Timber hears the bouncing ball, he goes crazy. But by doing these ball exercises, say against the wall, where you throw the ball, and I could do a video on this if I could find somebody to shoot a video, but hear me out. If you say you stand 3 or 4 feet away from, let's just say 3 feet away from a wall, and you throw overhand the ball, you catch the ball over and over and throw it back, over and over, throw it back, throw it back, throw it back, throw it back. That's working executive function. Then you switch hands and do ball, throw against the wall, and say you do it 10 times or you do it for a minute, okay? Then you throw left hand, catch with right hand catch with left hand, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, right, left, right, left, right, right, left. Then you could actually put a patch on and you do right, 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 then left, 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 covering one eye, okay? Then you could advance that by standing on one foot, throw, 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 standing on one foot, okay? You could even do it with the eye patch. These are stages and building up your executive function, that outer cortex, okay? Now, as far as the question from Kayette, I'm guessing your question is saying, if I do aerobics, if I do exercise, increasing my BDNF, high VO2 max will tell me that. So if you're aerobically inclined, your VO2 max is elevated, that's going to trigger BDNF. And that BDNF helps new neurons, so neurogenesis being formed, and it helps the connections. They're called synapses. So BDNF is being triggered, and that's increasing synapses and possibly increasing more neurons. So the very fact that we have more oxygen being used in a good way tells us that our brain is functioning better. Now, there are some studies that do this on aerobics, and there are some studies that do it on resistance training. Like when I first talked to you guys earlier this morning was about doing a large leg power, you working a large body part like our legs, especially our posterior aspects. So our glutes, hams, calves, that posterior legs. So doing deadlifts or squats or Romanian deadlifts, that hitting the leg power is going to, maybe some studies show that it increases BDNF even more. So yes, you want BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. You want that because that is increasing neurons, maybe in the number, and also increasing the synapses, the conduction, the connections. It's a beautiful thing, okay? In addition, I mean, just so we're clear, is, when we're working our VO2 max, it's not only working on our brain and the BDNF, but it's also increasing our cardiac output. It's helping our heart. So I'm not opposed to doing cardio. What I'm saying is I would do the best of both worlds. Is I might do HIIT, high intensity interval training. I am also going to lift, hit the main exercises that will increase BDNF. Okay, hopefully, Kayette, that answered your question. Did that answer your question? No, I'm not a neurobiologist. I'm family practice, but I read, and I don't claim to be any of these things. I'm just trying to provide information, okay? So you can either go look it up. You can look up BDNF. You can look up VO2 max. You can find the exact same things that I'm reading, most likely, okay? Okay, that says, yeah, this affirms my choice to go into strength training. There's another aspect to this, Kayette, that I just want to bring up. And this concerns me. I know that aerobic exercise, because I just got done talking to you about it, increases BDNF and it increases cardiac output and stroke volume. I'm good with that. I truly believe that. What I'm also reading and what I'm also like, when I think logically, is, do I really want to do long-term cardio exercises? Me, I say no. And the reason I say no is because when you do long-standing, I don't need, I really don't need that part. You guys, if you don't have anything nice to say, please don't say it. Just exit. There's no reason for you to be on here if you're not getting anything out of it. So back to Kayette. Long-term or triathlete exercising, running marathons, even just running long distances, 7 miles a day. Doing extensive cardio raises mTOR. mTOR we need, but we don't need it all the time. mTOR goes up with extensive exercise, okay? Intense exercise. But if we do intense exercises over long periods of time, mTOR never has a chance to come down. mTOR also goes up with eating. mTOR goes up with stress. mTOR goes up with a lot of things. And so if we're having constant mTOR activation, constant growth, and it never has a chance to come down, so it never has a chance to come down, you are causing growth of that heart tissue. You're causing growth of every cell in the body, like cancer cells. We want mTOR to grow big muscles. We want mTOR to grow our cells, but we don't want it on all the time. And we, as a population, not just the exercising. So if Kayette doesn't eat a bunch of high sugary foods that raise insulin, that raises mTOR, and she's eating through the day, and then she goes and runs some big, long 7-mile race or every day because she wants to burn off the calories that she thought were, I'm going to eat this bad food, but I'm going to go run it off. That you're not thinking it all through because you're having a spot you're having elevated mTOR, and mTOR is good when it's activated, but it needs to come back down. And so if you're running and you're eating and you're stressed and you're have all these things that raise mTOR and they're high all the day long, not a good thing. And constant cardiovascular over the long term, years and years and years, grows the heart, leads to AFib, leads to murmurs, leads to conduction problems where I'm just not on board with it. Again, this is just my reading and my thought process. So again, the best of both worlds would be to, instead of doing long cardio sessions, is to do HIIT, high intensity interval training, doing Norwegian 4x4s with types of exercise. But constant cardio for hours every single day over the long term, I think that you're going to have I think that these people are set up for heart attacks. I think they're set up for AFib. I think they're set up for cardiac murmurs. I think they're set up for decreasing VO2 max over time, which decreases BDNF, which causes cognitive decline. Okay. Yeah, Kayette, AFib, that's right. I'm trying to, Julia. My 2 moderators had to leave, so we do appreciate that you guys hang on. If there's I don't see if there's any other questions. I appreciate my Instagrammers hanging tight and just listening to me chat about the questions that are coming up on YouTube. But if you ever, Instagrams, this is part for you too. So, if you're having questions, just let me know. If you can like and subscribe, that would help. If you want to sign up for a consultation, just email me at IronLadyDoc@AOL.com. If you want a list of labs, I can send a list of labs. You don't have to pay me for it. I'll gladly send you pertinent labs that I think you should ask your doctor to get. If your doctor won't order certain labs, just ask me. If you live in the United States and not live in one of the 7 states that won't allow you to order your own labs, I can order your labs for you, okay? No, your insurance will not pay for it, but it might be worth it to you, okay? So get a hold of me. I can help you out in that regard. But I do appreciate everybody being here. And let's see. Yeah, I think that's probably it. I don't see any further questions, so we'll call it good. Lord willing, I'll be back next Saturday, 9 a.m. Central on Saturday, 10 a.m. Central on Sunday. Catch my reels, share them. If you find that this is good for you, please share the information with somebody you care about, or maybe you don't care about, okay? And Kate, you're very welcome. Oh, you have one last question? Okay. If you could recommend a book, paper, audio, what would you recommend for your patients? Oh, geez. I don't know that there's necessarily one. It would depend on the topic that you're, if you're very, very concerned about lipids and what causes heart attacks, is it my LDL? Is it the triglycerides? I would probably get the book, The Clot Thickens by Malcolm Kendrick. It can be complicated, but I think I think you can get through it. I read a lot on the different aspects of LDL, whether it's good, whether it's bad. I read up on all of that. I read a lot of stuff on exercise. I read a lot of stuff on things that matter to you. Like me, I bet you want your brain to function good. I bet you want your heart to function good. I bet you don't want to be on medications. I bet you want to live your life to the utmost for Jesus, and then you just simply go to sleep one night, and then the next minute and the next second you're with Jesus. That's what I want, okay? That's how I want to live my life. I don't want to be, required or to be reliant on taking a medication because I mess things up. And so if I can start young enough, not messing things up, my hopes are that I won't need all of these other things. But if somebody tells you exercise, and then they tell you, oh, I'm going to lose my Instagrammers, I think. I apologize, my battery is going dead. I can maybe put you on the charger here. There we go. That might give us a little life. I apologize. But the more and more I read, the more nuances and caveats I'm learning, and it gets frustrating because, one person will say, do cardio, and then the next person will say, don't do cardio. But if I know why do cardio, VO2 max, but I know why not to do cardio, I'm going to say, I don't want mTOR activated all the time because I'm an eater. And anytime I eat, like if I'm eating 5 meals a day, mTOR's never coming down. If I'm stressed all day long, like people tell me, oh, you need to slow down, you need to calm down, or but whatever, then my mTOR is going to be high. So stress, sugar, which raises insulin, the very fact of just eating, exercise, all raise mTOR. And if I never allow mTOR to come down, I'm putting myself at I'm doing a disservice to me. But I didn't tell you that cardio was bad. Unless, of course, I'm doing cardio day in, day out and doing those other things. And I'm going to get enlargement of cardiac cells. And I don't want that because that leads to congestive heart failure. And then my stroke volume goes down and my cardiac output goes down. And then I get brain fog. And then on and on and on. Then I sit on the couch and then I eat and I get diabetes and then I just die of a heart attack. There's so much. But yeah, the clot thickens. Julia, you're very welcome. You're an oracle in so many ways in health. Oh, thank you. Gluten, good. I'm glad you're here. So, okay, starting over. Let's hit me back next weekend. Bring your questions. So, Lord willing, next Saturday I'll be back, okay? And for Melanie, you enjoy the Super Bowl too. Go Patties for you. And whoever's a Seahawk fan, go Seahawks. It's probably going to be a good game, and hopefully I can stay up. And yeah, you guys have a great one.